Well, hello everybody. Today is going to start a new series slash podcast, and we're calling it From One Young Preacher to Another. I'm not going to be the only one on here. I'm going to have guests on here. I'm starting it today, and then we're going to bring some other young preachers up eventually. One of them being... Well, not one of them being... I don't know exactly who I'm going to have up here yet. But all of the preachers I bring up here, from one young preacher to another, are going to be anywhere from brand new to 3 years. That's what I would call a young preacher. Now, some of you are like, what if they're like 45 and they've been preaching since they were 42? So be it. Because when I say young, I mean young in the calling. I don't just mean young. Like, I'm 16, but I don't mean I'm going to bring a bunch of 16 to 20-year-olds up here. No. I mean young in the calling. So, from one young preacher to another, we're basically just going to give some advice. And we're going to give some tips. So one of the first things I would say, the first advice I'm going to give today is, when you're planning a message, if you're not totally sure on it, go to your pastor and ask him what you should be doing, or a more experienced preacher. One of my messages that'll be coming out soon is a message I had to ask my pastor about, because I had to go to him and say, hey, would I be right in saying this, or is this the wrong thing to say? So, ask your pastor. You read something, it seems off to you, you're not sure if you're rightly dividing it, you're not sure if you're going to say the right thing, and you just need somebody to back you up on what you want to say, go ask your pastor. This isn't the first time I've asked my pastor about something, and this definitely won't be the last time. I'll tell you that much. So, I have to go ask my pastor sometimes. And you should do the same thing. And then the other thing is, don't lead the stray astray. That's why you want to talk to your pastor. If you don't want to lead the stray astray, which you don't want to, go talk to your pastor. Now, some of you are like, what do you mean by don't lead the stray astray? What I mean by that is, don't go not ask your pastor and then say, oh, well, I'm right about this, so I'm going to go preach it. And then be wrong about something, and you've led the ones that are straying from God more astray. Don't lead the stray astray. Please do not lead the stray astray. Then the last thing I have is, if you're afraid to talk to your pastor, if he's intimidating, or whatever you may feel, this is going to sound so crazy for me to say, but you need to talk to your pastor and see what you can do to get him to open up, and see what you can do. See why he feels and seems so intimidating to you. And then if you don't get anything from it, and you still feel like you can't talk to your pastor, you're probably in the wrong spot. This is just in general, but especially for a young preacher, you're probably not in a great spot if you can't talk to your pastor. Biblically, he's great. Okay, awesome. But how is he toward you? If you're going to lead a flock, you can't just preach and then walk off the platform and never talk to anybody and be cold toward everybody, because that's not leading a flock. If you're going to lead your flock, you have to counsel your flock. If you're going to counsel your flock, you have to talk to the people in your flock. So, don't let your pastor be bitter and cold and annoyed by what you have to say. Go to him with questions, and if he seems bitter and cold, talk to him about why and what you can do to change that. This is all I have for today. We'll see you guys next time on From One Young Preacher to Another. I may bring some older preachers on here too, even though they're not young preachers. I may still bring them on because I want them to be able to give some young preachers some advice too, and tell me if the advice I'm giving is fair. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.